another installment of I've Got a Problem with the Legend of Korra. Now, for those of you who don't know, The Legend of Korra is a direct sequel to Avatar, The Last Airbender, in which Korra, the newest Avatar, learns to become the Avatar while also dealing with a brewing crisis in Republic City, a metropolis built by former Fire Lord Zuko and the previous Avatar, Aang, in the hopes of promoting peaceful cooperation and coexistence amongst all the nations of the world after the war done by the Fire Nation. And on the surface, this sounded like a great idea, because not only are we introduced to this new character who has to learn what it means to be the Avatar, as well as see her struggles as she develops, but we also get to see her struggle with the weight of the accomplishments of Aang and his crew. And this was also a woman of color who had her name in the title. It says Legend of Korra. Off the top of my head, I can only think of a few other titles in animation where that has happened, such as Juniper Lee, Pocahontas, and Lilo and Stitch. So it's really a very rare thing to see. So we have this great idea for the story about Korra, and man, we were stoked, us Avatar fans. We were completely and utterly excited about this. I mean, let's just take a look at Korra's design for a moment. She looks cool and awesome and fierce, and she has muscles. She has freaking muscles. Like, Wonder Woman in her animated movie never even had muscles, and Korra's got muscles. So we were so excited for this. We were stoked. And then the show happened. Oh boy, did the show ever happen. All that potential right down the drain. I have about 3 or 4 main beefs with this damn series. But in reading the feeds of my friends on Tumblr who follow this series along with me, there have been many more flaws about this show that have been pointed out. And I could go on about them. However, as I want this episode to be, under 3 or 4 hours long, I'm going to stick to and explain my main contentions with The Legend of Korra. So here it is, my 4 main beefs with The Legend of Korra. Wait, hang on. Just saying it's the writing, that's a bit too vague. So let's start over again with number 4. Why am I blaming the show's creators? Because they were also the sole writers for Legend of Korra, and thus the blame for how badly this show fucked up can be laid solely at their feet. And oh boy, did this show ever fuck up. For example, Korra, the lead character whose name is in the title, does not even defeat the main bad guy. Now, for those of you who don't know, the lead bad guy of this series is Amon, the leader of the Equalists, which is a group of non-benders who they kind of had it up to here with being treated like crap by bending gangs in Republic City, which the police actually, they don't seem to do a whole lot about. This is Michael and Brian's take on white privilege in our own society, by having benders versus non-benders as a metaphor. Hence the name, the Equalists, because that's very subtle. But getting back to Korra not defeating Amon, she doesn't defeat him, oh no. Rather is Amon's own brother, Tarlok, a waterbender who's also a member of the ruling council of Republic City, and who defeats him via a double murder-suicide.
It will be just like the good old days.
In terms of basic storytelling, this is not some clever twist, but rather awful, shitty writing. The series does attempt to paint everything in shades of gray, but they failed, and Amon was nothing more than some revenge-obsessed twit who wasn't even concerned with the people he was leading. And Korra couldn't even defeat him. When your hero cannot even defeat the main villain, you're basically saying that the hero is inept and incompetent. And that's what they're saying here about Korra, which is that much more worse because our hero here is a woman of color. So you're saying that women of color can't be heroes. We currently live in a society where if you are a straight, white, cisgendered, able-bodied male, you're at the top of the privilege pyramid. You don't have to worry about being pulled over for driving while white. You don't have to worry about store employees following you around everywhere in a store that might seem too expensive for you to shop in. And you certainly don't have to worry about people touching your hair. Now, the problem with all of that is that that's been built up over hundreds of years of white people shouting out about how awesome and cool they are while beating down on everyone else who's had a skin color slightly darker or more than tan. Hell, there are a myriad of ways in which white privilege exerts itself over the rights of others in just about every aspect of life. From politics, religion, popular entertainment. And that's just a very brief notes about what we have here in Western society because of our history. It's complicated, it's complex, and it certainly can't be solved in 12 episodes. See, as I mentioned before, Michael and Brian attempted to explore this issue by highlighting tensions between benders and non-benders, which results in the Avatar and her friends fighting Amon and the Equalists. And they did it badly.
What? I'm not oppressing anyone. You're oppressing yourself.
Oh yeah. That was from the very first episode, when I should have realized how bad this series was going to go, as more of my smarter friends did when they first saw that episode. For most of the series, Amon is actually very much in the right when he points out how bending gangs are let go by the police despite terrorizing non-benders.
Now for a demonstration. Please welcome Lightning Bolt Zolt, leader of the Triple Threat Triad, and one of the most notorious criminals in Republic City. Zolt has amassed a fortune by extorting and abusing non-benders.
Heck, if you were to look at the ruling council of Republic City, you'd see that it's made up entirely of benders. There's not a single non-bender amongst them. And if there's the tiniest hint that a non-bender, no matter how rich they are, is involved with the Equalists, why, that's more than enough just cause for the police to come crashing down your door and searching your place. And we see this when Lynn's metal-bending police show up to tear through Asami's home, as well as her father's place of business, just because Korra misheard a phone call from Asami's father and thinks that he might be in cahoots with the Equalist.
Did Hiroshi Sato frame his longtime rival, Lao Ganlan? Or did Chief Beifong just plain arrest the wrong man? So far, the investigation has yielded no evidence to incriminate Sato.
But then, in the final battle between Amon and Korra, it's revealed that Amon himself is actually a waterbender, and that he was just some revenge-obsessed twit who wanted to hurt all benders. And because of that, all the non-benders just stopped fighting against an unjust society. Oh no, Amon was a waterbender. I guess he misled us about the mistreatment we had at the hands of benders. Let's all go home because everything's secretly okay. And yeah, Amon may have misled everyone about what he was. but what he said still holds true. You can't just have everything go back to normal because he was a waterbender, because that normal still has shop owners suffering at the hands of bending gangs.
Mr. Chung, please tell me that you have my money, or else I can't guarantee I can protect your fine establishment.
I'm sorry. Business has been slow. Please, take one of my phonographs.
My friend here is not a music lover.
There is no central bad guy to fight when it comes to privilege, but rather a system that seeks to keep the rights of one group atop of everyone else to their detriment. Not all benders were bad, just as not all white people are bad. But in the end, we all benefit from white privilege, just as all benders benefit from, well, bending privilege. Diving into this character bit, just a bit deeper, how come we didn't get to spend more time with any of the other equalist characters? Sure, there was Asami's father, but he was written as just another revenge-obsessed, angry man. I'm talking about people, like these. You know that there had to have been non-benders in the equalist movement who were just sick and tired of being trodden upon by the bending gangs or having their concerns brushed aside by the council. They must have been mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, and people from all walks of life who just wanted some basic respect and justice. And we don't get to know any of them. We don't even get to know the lieutenant. All of them keep their mask on. And one of the things that you can do to take away someone's humanity is to cover up their face, to cover up their eyes. Just as an aside, that was actually instrumental in the construction of the alien creature. It was to take away the eyes, because giving it eyes would have given it too much humanity. And what they did was to take away as much of the humanity from the equalists, making them less sympathetic to, sympathize with. And again, you can't solve this deep, complex issue in 12 episodes. The love subplot between Mako and Korra has got to be about one of the worst love subplots I've seen in anything, ever. And I'm talking worse than the love subplot between Anakin Skywalker and Padme in the prequel series. That's right, I went there. It was worse written than anything George Lucas wrote. For starters, Mako has no personality. He's just a grumpy firebender, and that's it. They could have had something, in fact they sort of hinted at it, that he has to be the responsible older brother, not only for himself, but for his younger brother Bolin after their parents were killed. But nope, nothing explored there. Don't want to have anything too complicated. And secondly, he starts falling in love with Korra when he's already got a girlfriend in Asami Sato. And this really starts to pan out after Asami is rendered homeless, when her father is outed as a supporter and sympathizer for the equalist cause, and the authorities seize her home and all of her possessions. Plus, in 12 episodes, where we are looking at an involved vision of the world that we saw from Avatar: The Last Airbender, where Korra is learning to develop airbending skills, and where the writers are attempting to, very badly, explore the issue of privilege, do we even have the fucking time for a love subplot? But what about Aang and Katara's love subplot from the first series, you might ask? What about it? I liked it. It was done well and plotted nicely over the course of 3 seasons! 74 episodes! They actually had the time to develop that relationship. In Legend of Korra, all we get is that Mako loved Asami, and why she even liked him in the first place, I have no fucking idea. And then he doesn't even dump her before he starts making oogly eyes at Korra. And then, when Asami actually confronts him about the kiss that he had with Korra back in episode 4, he attempts to snake his way out of it and bring his brother into it.
The truth? About what?
You're really gonna make me say it?
Yes, because I don't know what you're talking about.
The kiss, Mako. I know.
Well, Bolin told you, didn't he?
Don't blame your brother for what you did.
This guy is a fucking snake, and I hate that he's the love interest for Korra. Now look, it's not that I have a problem with Korra being in love or anything. It's just that in a 12 episode series, you have very little time to properly develop this relationship, and these characters weren't exactly well written to begin with. It was like seeing someone try to sledgehammer in a square peg into a round hole despite everyone around them saying, it's not going to work, it's not going to work, it's not going to work, and they're still going at it. Now, before I go into detail what they did wrong, I do want to say that The Legend of Korra, much like Avatar, The Last Airbender, does have a wide range of women in its show. First off, there's Lin Banfei, the daughter of Toph, who has to be, I think, in her 40s as a hard-boiled cop. We have Asami Sato, who is a graceful beauty and also a genius gearhead. Then we have Korra, who's tough, strong, and brimming with confidence. And we have Pema, who is the wife to Tenzin, and who is really hoping that this next child is a non-bender. Because let's face it, helping to raise 3 airbending kids, it's really tough. But, like just about everything else in this show, they dropped the ball. I've already talked about some of what they did to Korra and showing how ineffective and inept she is in being unable to defeat the main bad guy. But what I didn't mention was just how much this show beats the absolute hell out of her, both physically and emotionally. She may have started out strong and confident, but this show does everything it can to beat that out of her. From being defeated by Tarlok to being depowered by Amon,
I told you I would destroy you.
to being unable to learn any kind of airbending until the absolute end. And even then, it was for the sole purpose of saving Mako's firebending abilities. Through the power of love or some bullshit like that. Lin Banfei? Well, in episode 10, she sacrifices herself so that the airbending family, that's Tenzin, Pema, and the airbending kids, have a chance to get away before the Equalists can kidnap them and Amon depowers them. She ends up losing her powers to Amon. And it amounts to absolute jack shit because the Equalists still end up kidnapping the airbending kids.
No, they got away. We saw them get away.
And Pema? Well, she reinforces the ugly, stupid stereotype of the patriarchy that all women are in competition with each other for men's affections when she relates to Korra just how she got Tenzin, who used to date Lin Banfei.
Years ago, I was in the exact same situation with Tenzin.
Daddy was in love with someone else before you?
That's right.
So what did you do?
Well, for the longest time, I did nothing. I was so shy and scared of rejection, but watching my soulmate spend his life with the wrong woman became too painful. So I hung my chin out there and I confessed my love to Tenzin. And the rest is history. But watching my soulmate spend his life with the wrong woman became too painful.
Because that's the main concern of women, beating out any B word in your way in order to get the man. Romance! And Asami Sato? Well, she's the only character in this series who has something resembling growth and an actual character arc. First off, she recognizes her father's fight against the Benders for what it is, revenge instead of justice, and defeats him in the final fight. She takes Mako to task for kissing Korra while not getting angry at Korra and tells Mako to stuff it. She's an excellent hand-to-hand combatant, just like Suki and Mai were in Avatar: The Last Airbender. And at the end, when Korra and Mako get together, she doesn't throw a hissy fit, she just moves on. But that's still 1 out of 4 characters, and in a series where the majority of the bullshit was aimed directly at the lead character. You know, the one with her name in the title. As I said at the start of the video, there's a lot of issues wrong with this series that all combine to make me rage quit by episode 8, and which I only just finished rewatching, which means I'm in a very bitter fucking mood. For example, almost everyone except Asami has no character growth. It's especially bad for Bolin, who, like Sokka, started off as a comedic gag character, but unlike Sokka, has no development throughout the series. Korra gets her powers back due to a Deus Ex Machina when Aang just evaporates out of nowhere and gives her back her avatar powers. And then there's the treatment of Katara, who is in this series and much older, showing her to also be inept and ineffective when she's unable to undo the damage that Amon did to Korra. And then there's how much lighter skin both Katara and Korra appear as the series goes on. Oh, and they also whitewashed Amon, who is from the Southern Water tribe. I don't care what you say, you do not get pale by wearing a mask for years. I'm not interested in your fucking excuses, Legend of Korra fandom. And as if that wasn't enough, there are also additional concerns with Book 2. For example, Brian, one of the show's creators, released a picture of some of Aang and Katara's kids, and they're all friggin' light-skinned as hell. Naturally, some people were really rather concerned about this. But instead of actually listening to them, Brian proceeded to lecture them about how coloring works with lights and animation and how they shouldn't take it so seriously. Because as we all know, whitewashing does not exist in media. Not anymore. Between that and just how inept Korra seems and the little bit of footage released from Book 2 that I've seen, I've got absolutely no hope for this series anymore. Book 2 is just going to be a continuation of the intense fail that Book 1 had. I'm Triple J, and this series makes me physically ill. Goodbye.